In this video, I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the fact that Trump did not swear in the Bible, and number two, why this ritual was held indoors. They told you it was because it's cold, and of course, MAGA told you it was because of safety reasons. So automatically, everybody believes that narrative. It was 25 degrees in Washington, D.C., not the coldest on record. Obama was sworn in 28 degrees. It was the teens when Jimmy Carter was sworn in. It's kind of normal weather for January in Washington, D.C. But the real reason, of course, was that this was a ritual. And they wanted Trump to be sworn in the rotunda underneath the Apotheosis. That's right, the Apotheosis. For anybody out there that doesn't know, of course, we're constantly surrounded by imagery, by signs and symbols where these demons reveal themselves to all of us. But nobody pays attention to any of it. They think that these are works of art. And the Apotheosis of Washington at the U.S. Capitol is a picture depicted of George Washington surrounded by really pagan gods. And if you don't know what apotheosis means, it's the highest point in the development of something or a culmination or a climax. And the literal meaning of apotheosis is the elevation of a person to the rank of a god. Deification, glorification of a person or thing. So you have deification, right, which makes sense with anybody who's placed into power as the president of the United States, because their job is literally to defecate on our lives and on our rights and freedoms. But the elevation of a person to the rank of a god is very important to note, being that Trump was sworn in right underneath this image. And what do we see now in our society from MAGA specifically? They view Donald Trump as a god. He puts himself in the same breath as God. We see MAGA rolling around golden idol statues of Trump. Donald Trump could do no wrong in any of their eyes. In fact, Donald Trump has compared himself to God and called himself the chosen one. So if you don't think that this was a ritual, think again. And in that mural above him, they're holding up a banner that says, "Out of many, one." Which is interesting, being that this entire New World Order that we all expose, this same New World Order that MAGA and conservatives believe Donald Trump is going to go against, and he's the opposition of the New World Order because, you know, all it takes is a few fake assassination attempts and some fake trials, some sham trials. And of course, the same people who are trying to throw you in prison, showing up at your inauguration, they don't think that far ahead. All it takes is a little bit of a circus, political theater. And these people believe that Donald Trump is opposed to the New World Order, right? But of course, we all know that the New World Order is really a one world order. So how fitting that he is standing underneath the banner that says, "Out of many, one." And of course, again, that mural, the apotheosis, meaning the elevation of a person to the rank of God. So while he refuses to swear in on the Bible, of course they'll tell you that he didn't refuse it, it was an accident, this is the excuse, they'll just constantly make excuses. Like I said, he could literally be shown in bed next to Jeffrey Epstein and a bunch of minors, and people out there would make an excuse and say that, well, he was doing it to prove a point, he's playing 6G chess. It doesn't matter at this point. We see how bad this psychosis is, and this was done by design. This is why Democrats had to make things so insane and talk about all of these issues that were complete insanity. We saw the stuff that they were parading on television every day, putting, pronouns above protecting the borders and protecting our way of life in America. All this stuff that drove people completely nuts, so much so that they will defend Donald Trump to the grave just to avoid the chaos, and I really mean the mind chaos, that just ensued. So the Apotheosis of Washington depicts George Washington sitting among the heavens in an exalted manner, so one with God, right? This is the core of Freemasonry. George Washington, of course, another Freemason. They believe that they are gods among us. Remember Genesis chapter 3, verse 22, which is very important, that 322, and why Skull and Bones uses it. In Genesis chapter 3, verse 22, the man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever. They believe that they are gods among us. So the Apotheosis of Washington depicts Washington sitting among the heavens in an exalted manner, or in literary terms, ascending and becoming a god. This is in your capital, ladies and gentlemen. Washington, the first U.S. president and commander-in-chief of the Continental Army during the American Revolutionary War, is allegorically represented, surrounded by figures from classical mythology. Washington is draped in purple. Of course, we know purple, the color of royalty. Jill Biden was wearing purple. We've seen this depicted many times with Hillary back when Trump was selected wearing purple, and Bill Clinton wearing purple, all done by design, color-coded. So George Washington draped in purple, worn by generals of the ancient Roman Republic. Keep that in mind. Remember some of the stuff that Elon Musk has tweeted out about building a modern-day Roman Empire, okay? There's a lot of symbolism to why he was sworn in underneath this. It wasn't, again, because it was cold outside and he was afraid to get frostbite. This is a ritual. So Washington draped in purple, worn by the generals of the Roman Republic during their triumphs, with a rainbow arch at his feet, flanked by the goddess Victoria, who is draped in green, using a horn to his left, and the goddess of liberty to his right. Liberty wears a red liberty cap, symbolizing emancipation from a Roman tradition where slaves being manumitted would be given a felt cap. She holds a fasces in her right hand and an open book in the other, to which George Washington gestures with his right hand. Forming a circle between Liberty and Victoria are 13 maidens. 13, another number used in the occult, each with a star above their head. Remember, the star is a pentagram. That's what a star is, the 5 points of the pentagram, 5 points in a star. They just use it to deceive you without putting the line through it. If I showed you the Dallas Cowboys logo next to a Wiccan pagan star, you'd say, well, wait, they do look, very similar, but there's no crosses between the Dallas Cowboys. Well, that's, of course, because they don't want you to realize what the logo really stands for. They want you to realize that it's on your American flag, that it's pretty much represented by every single corporation in America. One way or the other, they have some type of variation of the pentagram in their logo. And again, I've covered this symbol many times, and Aleister Crowley talking about how everyone is a star. It is a pentagram. So 13 maidens, each with a star above her head, representing the original 13 colonies. Several of the maidens have their backs turned to George Washington, said to represent the colonies that had seceded from the Union at the time of the painting across the circle from George Washington is the banner, which reads, "Out of many, one." And again, this stuff is all deliberately done. You have the symbolism of this with man becoming God, and the connection, of course, to these secret societies who, again, they all believe that they are gods, that they are elevated to gods, that they are gods among us. Donald Trump, the elevation of a person to the rank of God, refusing to swear in on the Bible. And don't think for 1 second that that wasn't done on purpose, that he didn't rush that speech. I mean, everybody knows, even if you're, don't pay attention to politics, everybody knows that when a president is sworn in, he's sworn in on a Bible, right? Unless he goes out of his way to say that he's an atheist or he doesn't believe in God. Donald Trump has been depicted as this savior chosen directly from God. So you would think that the guy reading the oath would wait for Donald Trump to have his Bibles. And the excuse they're making is that he went too fast, that Melania didn't get up there fast enough. Melania's standing there, and he's right next to Melania. Don't you think that he would think in his head that he needs to put his hand on the Bible, especially if he's been marketed to Christians as being this savior for Christians? This was deliberately done. And they know they can get away with this because they know that all they need to do is have Trump ignore it and say, well, he kind of rushed the speech. Hey, it's no big deal. And all these people will just automatically dismiss it because they don't want to believe the actual truth. But that right there, if that wasn't deliberate symbolism right in front of us, because it was deliberately done. It wasn't an accident. They didn't get there in time. Anybody out there with common sense would have known, hey, you got to swear on the Bible. The guy reading the oath to him would have said, hey, wait, let's wait,